Hi everyone, and welcome to an agile approach to customer experience like the big brands. Welcome to the presentation, and please, if you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to put them in the questions section and we'll get to them at the end of the presentation. My name is Barka. I'm the Chief Technology Officer at Silvertech and also a Sitefinity MVP. Before we get started, I want to go over a little bit about Silvertech for those of you that aren't familiar with us. We are a 80-person marketing technology agency headquartered out of Manchester, New Hampshire. Also have an office in Indianapolis, Indiana. And we do everything from SEO, SEM, paid media campaigns, through website design development, custom application development, things like that. Our niche, though, is really combining all those disciplines to create personalized, seamless, engaging customer experiences across all digital touch points. And that's really what we're here to talk about today is how do you go about doing that? What's the approach to get to optimal customer experience like the big brands that we're used to dealing with every day? But before we do that, I want to step back to 2007. In 2007, the iPhone was unveiled. And with its unveiling, it really transformed how all of us engage with one another, with our friends, with our families, and with companies we do business with. And if you were a high schooler back in 2007, you're actually in your late 20s or early 30s today, which means you're starting families, you're buying houses, buying cars, starting companies, running corporations, and really hitting the beginnings of the peak of your professional career. And your entire professional career and personal one for that matter, you've had this device in your hand, and that's really changed the way that you expect to interact with, again, people, brands, companies, all those sorts of things. And the companies that get that are the ones that really are the ones that we think of when we think about the best customer experiences today. It's the Amazons of the world, the Netflixes of the world, Airbnb, Apple Pay, and those types of things. And you might be thinking, well, I'm a small organization, or my customers are small organizations, and that's not who we are. But the problem is with that train of thought is, sure, maybe you're not an Amazon or you're not a Netflix, but your customers or your customers of your customers are customers of those other brands, and their best experience somewhere is now their expectation everywhere. And if you're not meeting that bar, then you're falling short of their expectations, and they'll go find someone that is, unfortunately. Now, fast forward 13 years to 2020, and the world has changed again. I mean, dramatically so in the last 6 months, and it's probably never going back to the way it was. How we shop, how we communicate, how we have meetings, how we have conferences are all completely different, has completely changed. And even companies like Amazon, Google, Facebook, Shopify are saying that permanently from here forward, they're going to have a contingent of employees that are always work from home. And again, that's really changed the way all of us interact with companies we do business with. And again, getting back to those brands that set the bar higher every day, they've adapted quickly to even this latest change in customer experiences. And again, if you look at these brands, Amazon was obviously already poised to take advantage of the pandemic and the rapid shift to digital. Sure, they had some supply chain and logistic issues early on, but for the most part, their experience and their platforms were in place to already do this, and they were able to take advantage of that quickly. Netflix is the same way. Their infrastructure was ready to handle an influx of viewers. They had content ready to throw at them so people never got bored. And then you look at companies like Airbnb and Uber, who maybe in the beginning were rapidly losing business and revenue because of the pandemic. They were able to shift a little bit and take advantage of it to an extent. I mean, you have things like Uber Eats. People aren't going out to eat, but maybe they're ordering food and using Uber Eats, and it's an easy transaction that's for the most part contactless. If you look at Airbnb, people still want to go places. They still want to go on vacation, but maybe they're hesitant to check into a big hotel or go to a city or a place with lots of people. Airbnb was quick to release videos on how their members can sanitize and clean and things like that. And again, they were able to pick up where they had left off and really, not lose much revenue share moving forward. And then you look at companies like Venmo and Apple Pay. To be honest, I had never actually used Apple Pay. I mean, I have an iPhone, like most of us do, but I had never used it because it never really occurred to me. But when this pandemic hit, and I was, more and more often using my Dunkin' Donuts app and my Starbucks app, I quickly realized, hey, why don't I set up Apple Pay and start using that? And it's something I've been using going forward. So these companies were able to transition based upon anything that is thrown at them, and that's when we think about superior customer experiences. That's what we tend to think about. And if you look at all these brands, they've obviously gone through some sort of digital transformation to kind of get where they are and to stay where they are. So before we go any further, I really want to talk about, what does that mean? What does digital transformation mean? It's actually a term that I'm not in love with because it's so overused and thrown out there, and it's not really understood. It's a cliche, if anything. And if you were to, Google digital transformation, you'd come back with a bunch of different definitions based upon, the company that's putting it out there. But what I like is Jeff Bezos' definition of digital transformation and how Amazon looks at digital transformation. And it is that you want to be customer obsessed, not competitor obsessed. Customers are always dissatisfied and they always want more. If you're competitor obsessed and you're a leader, you see everyone behind you and maybe you're slowing down and paying too much attention to them and not the customer, really, right? But if you're focused on the customer, they're always pulling you along and forcing you to be better, which is going to force you to always focus on the customer experience and not necessarily what's happening around you, which is interesting. When I look at digital transformation, I kind of combine all those things. And it's really a fundamental change in how an organization leverages not just technology, but people and processes to deliver value to their customers and drive business performance, which again is kind of it's a lofty goal and it's kind of hard to pinpoint, which is why I also like Forrester's digital rules of business. And they've kind of broken up the rules of digital innovation into these 4 quadrants that are all kind of centered around the customer. And the first one is digital experiences. Deliver easy, effective, and emotional customer experiences. And I think we all know what that means. That's why we're here, right? The second one is digital operations. Let's focus operations on things customers value, which I think is a little different. I think a lot of times when we think about digital operations, a lot of times we think kind of inside out. Like how do I increase efficiencies to reduce costs, increase margins? How do I make my supply chain more efficient and things like that? But they're really saying no. Don't look internally outwards. Let's look outside in and focus those operations on things customers really care about. And I think a good example of that is Amazon Prime, right? If you're Amazon and you're focused on your shipping and digital transformation and margins and things like that, you're probably thinking, how can I make my shipping and my supply chain and my delivery more efficient so I can cut costs, increase revenue and margins and things like that? But that's not what they did. They said, no, let's take an outside-in look. How do customers look at shipping? And someone came up with this Prime idea. Hey, let's give everyone free shipping. They pay a set fee every year. They get free 2-day shipping on all orders. And at first, it was kind of a crazy idea internally. Like, why would we do that? We're going to lose tons of money. But in the end, it was super innovative, and it's completely transformed the way Amazon does business and Amazon's competitors do business. So that's operations. Focus operations on things that matter to customers. Digital innovation is innovate at that intersection of experience and operations. And when I think about this one, I think about Netflix. And Netflix is also obviously the pioneer in streaming and content delivery and things like that. But when I'm thinking about this, I'm not thinking about the Netflix of today. I'm actually thinking about the Netflix of, I don't know, the late 90s, early 2000s, and what they did then. They really looked at that intersection of experience and operations in the DVD rental market. And by doing so, they completely transformed that market, disrupted it, and even put Blockbuster out of business. If you think about how you rented a movie back in 1999, it was probably Friday night, you were heading home from work, you stopped at Blockbuster, you went in, looked around for the movie you wanted. Hopefully it was there. If not, you kind of got your second choice. Maybe grab some pizza on the way home, and then watched a movie. And then, you probably forgot to return it Saturday. You forgot to return it Sunday. Returned it Monday on the way back to work, and now you owed another $10 in overages. Netflix says, no, I think we can do better than this. This isn't an optimal experience. I think back to it, and for nostalgia's sake, I like the experience. Walking around Blockbuster, picking up movies, maybe being with your girlfriend, thinking about things like that. But at the end of the day, it really wasn't a great experience. So all Netflix did was something very, very simple, really. And they said, okay, if we look at this experience, how do we make it better? We can create a website where people can create a backlog of the movies they want to see. And then for a fixed fee monthly, whether it be $8, $9, $10 a month, we'll let you keep a fixed amount of DVDs at any given time. So you pay $8 a month, we ship you 3 DVDs, you send one back, and we send you the next one in your list, and so on and so on. You always have 3 movies, you always have a backlog, you're always happy. And that innovation at that intersection of operations and customer experience completely disrupted that market and ultimately put Blockbuster out of business. And Netflix went on to obviously become the Netflix of today that we think about. The fourth kind of quadrant of this rules of business for digital innovation is digital ecosystems. Build platforms and partnerships to accelerate and scale. And this is kind of your base for all the other things you want to do. If your business is built on an old AS400 and the COVID-19 pandemic hits, it's going to be really, really hard for you to innovate quickly and at scale and to really deliver a new customer experience when it's demanded. It's just not going to work. You need to be on more modern and reliable platforms like cloud, so you can quickly scale when needed to. You can release new features very fast, and you need partners to help support that. Unless you're the biggest of companies, you're not going to have all the talent you need in-house. You're not going to have designers and strategists and technologists and cloud architects all in-house probably. So find the partners that are going to allow you to do the things you do well, but also support you along with the platform so that when you want to, do digital experiences and operations and innovation, those partners and platforms are in place to help you do that quickly and easily in an agile manner. So we just talk about a lot, and obviously it's going to be very hard to all of a sudden become Amazon or Netflix. No one can really do that, which is why we talk about when we want to do this, it's a crawl, walk, run approach. We're not going to all of a sudden wake up tomorrow and be Amazon or Netflix or Uber, but we have to start somewhere. We can't just ignore the fact that we're not at that level of customer experience. So when I think about that first step of crawling, I think about being a modern and relevant organization, having a modern and relevant customer experience. And the first place to do that is probably the website. The website is where most of our customers are going to interact with us at any given point in time. So it's important for that to be modern and relevant. And when I think about your website and I think about being modern and relevant, I think about an analogy that one of our designer, Dan, likes to use. And he says, if the house was your brand, then your kitchen would be the website. It's the face of your home. It's where people come to meet. It's that consistent customer experience that you're using within your home. You like to entertain there. You like to do things. People hang out there. And this particular kitchen is obviously, it's older, it's outdated, but it functions at a bare bones level. I can store my food in the cabinets. I can cook dinner. My family can come. My friends can come and things like that. But it's not super usable for everyone. If I had a disability, if I was in a wheelchair, it's going to be hard to get around. If I'm shorter, I can't reach the cabinets. It's not open enough, so I can't bring lots of people in there and stuff. So it's not the ideal customer experience for all the things that I want to do. Now, that same kitchen with a dramatic facelift is now not just a lot more aesthetically pleasing, obviously, but it's more functional at a bare bones level. It's more accessible. It's easier to use. It's more goal oriented. So I can come here, and not only is it better to look at, but it's much easier for my kids to sit down and do their homework and talk to us while we're cooking dinner. It's a lot easier for the kids to have breakfast while me and my wife are preparing lunches and things like that. It's a lot easier to entertain. It's open. You can have conversations and stuff like that. It was designed with its audiences in mind. It was designed with its ultimate goals in mind. And for that reason, it's much more functional it's much more modern, it's much more relevant. And that's also important to your website. If you look at this website, it's a typical website from maybe 10 years ago. It functions at a bare bones level. I can log in, I can find the products I'm looking for, I can go to enter my username and password, log in to get to my accounts or buy products and things like that. But if I go to use it on my phone, it's not going to work very well. Again, if I have a vision problem, I can't see it very well with the whites on gray. It's not functioning at a core level for all of my audiences. It's just barely functioning at a bare bones level, and that's not a modern and relevant experience. So in summary, when we look at modern and relevant experiences, it's really out with the old. We don't want anything that's old and clunky and slow. We don't want anything that's hard to use or disorganized. And really, we don't want anything that's a liability to our brand. What we do want is something that's obviously, modern and beautiful, but more importantly, highly accessible for other people that need to access it, and usable and goal achieving. If the purpose of our website is letting a customer log in so they can make a purchase, the website should be designed with that in mind. If the purpose of our website is to get more leads, it should be designed with that in mind. So when we're designing a website, the first thing we should be thinking about is what are the goals we want to achieve for who, and then design it for that in mind. And that's what a modern and relevant website is about. So how do we go about doing that? The first thing that we like to do when thinking about a modern and relevant experience, whether it be the web, whether it be mobile, whether it be a chatbot, anything, is really define who's going to use it. And these are our personas. And if you're not familiar with personas and what they are, they're fictional representations of your real customers. And the reason you want to do this is because if Sandra and Ralph came into your actual store, it doesn't matter what you're selling, whether it's loans or widgets or gadgets or TVs, no matter what, you're not going to have the same conversation with them because they have different needs, they have different thought processes, they have different motivations. At the end of the day, they're going to have different reasons for buying different things. You're going to have different conversations with them based upon what they're looking to do and who they are. So when we dive into personas, we don't just look at things like demographics. Ralph is 63, he's got a college education in business, his financial literacy is real high, but his digital competence is real low. We really look at thinking, okay, what is their ideal online experience? Someone like Sandra probably doesn't want to talk to someone on the phone. She probably doesn't want to come into your brick and mortar store. She wants to do everything online. For her, it's all about self-service, getting things done quickly, and probably from her phone, right? She's not going to be going on a laptop. She's going to be trying to do everything from her phone. So as you're mapping out what her ideal experience is, you want to keep in mind that the phone is probably the device of choice. Once we've defined kind of these personas, the next thing we want to look at is their journeys. Okay, as each person comes to the site, what is their end goal, and what are the steps going to take to get there, right? So if I'm Sandra and I'm on a banking website and I want to look for an auto loan, I'm going to go through a research phase of awareness and engagement, an education and consideration phase, hopefully a decision and conversion phase, and then finally ongoing maintenance and things like that. And at each step of this journey, doing things a little differently. So that research phase, I think I heard a statistic the other day, over 75% of websites visits start with a Google search. So she's probably on Google, she's probably on a phone searching for auto loans in her area. She's going to end up visiting your website, learning more about you, and then ultimately comparing not just your own products, but probably your products to your competitors and things like that, where she's finally going to make an assessment and then hopefully apply. And again, this application piece is really where we think back to that Forrester stuff. Now we're talking about that intersection of operations and experience. If you've ever applied for a loan or done anything financial on a website, it's usually a terrible experience, especially on a phone. So this application process, if we really want a pinnacle of customer experience, it has to really be at this intersection of operations and experiences. And we have to focus on making sure that is a seamless process for Sandra. And then ultimately she's going to manage her accounts, re-engage, and grow. And as we've been going through this process, again, we're really looking to define what is important to Sandra at each step in this journey. So she's researching, obviously SEO, SEM, paid media campaigns are important because she has to find you, right? And again, she's probably on her phone, so making sure we're targeting that device. Then from there, she's going to visit, learn, compare, assess. She's going to have different content needs as she goes across these different steps in the journey. So we're making sure we have that content ready when the website's ready. You can have the most beautiful website in the world, but if you don't have the content and the steps mapped out for each of your personas at each point in the journey, it's not going to matter how good the website looks. So that was the crawl stage. The next stage, as we're kind of making our way up that customer experience mountain or around our customer experience journey, is walking. And when I think about walking, I think about engaging and frictionless. Engaging and frictionless experiences, again, at each touch point in that journey. And when I think about engaging and frictionless, I think about another story from my life. And it was actually last fall. My daughter is a big soccer player. She had made the varsity team as a freshman. I was super excited, loved to watch her play. It was her second game. It was her first away game, which happened to be about 10 minutes from my office. So cut out of work a little early, headed over to the field, was walking onto the field as the game started. I look out there and she was starting, so I was super excited to watch. But as the game starts to go, I noticed there's something weird with her leg, like a bandage or something on it. And I'm watching, trying to figure out what's going on and things like that. And as play, continued, eventually she got close to the sideline where I could see her better. And sure enough, her leg was wrapped. And I was like, what's going on? I don't remember her being hurt. Did she hurt herself in warm-ups? What's up? And then as she got even closer, I realized what was happening. And what it was she had one black sock and one white sock, and her uniform requires two white socks. So she took a white bandage and wrapped up her black sock with the white bandage, and now she had a valid uniform and was able to go onto the field. So now I'm kind of at a crossroads. I'm both mildly impressed with her ingenuity, but also a little bit embarrassed that my daughter's running around with a bandage on her leg to cover up her black sock. So what was the first thing I did? I reached into my phone again. I reached into my pocket. Grabbed my phone, pulled up the Amazon app, searched for white Nike soccer socks, hit buy now, and before the next throw-in occurred, I probably had 4 pairs of Nike soccer socks headed to my house without even having to think about it. I didn't have to think about, okay, I need to buy socks, I had to write myself a note, I have to go to the store. No, I just reached into my pocket and did it right there, and it probably took all of 20 or 30 seconds. That's an engaging and frictionless experience, and that's what, again, all of our consumers want to expect. Again, our consumers' best experience somewhere is now their expectation everywhere. So that experience from me is what I expect no matter what I'm doing. If I'm ordering pizza, if I'm ordering something online, I want that pinnacle of customer experience. And if you're not meeting it, then you're falling short, unfortunately. So let's look at some not so great experiences. This is the State of New Hampshire employment security website. It's not terrible, but it's also not great, like most state websites. So it's an older website. It's built on a legacy Dreamweaver static HTML platform, which is obviously hard to update at any given point in time. If you want to add new content to it, new links, you're going to need a developer to go in and modify the HTML. It's not built on a modern and flexible platform. So when COVID hit and NHES all of a sudden had a huge influx of both visitors to the website, online claims, people calling, they had a big problem. They couldn't keep up with it, and people couldn't find the information they wanted, and they couldn't update the site fast enough because it wasn't built on a modern platform. We were able to go in there, and while we couldn't modify that platform yet, it was just too old, it was going to take too much time, we could quickly spin up a microsite on a modern content management system that allowed NHES to create their own content, update phone numbers, take form fills quickly and easily. And if you're familiar with modern CMSs like Progress Sitefinity, you'll understand that once it's built on the platform, which again doesn't take very long, content managers can go in quickly, easily add content, add FAQs, do what they need to do to get the content to the people that they need. Another thing we were able to do was spin up a chatbot, again, very quickly. We were able to release a microsite for New Hampshire Employment Security, as well as this chatbot, which with a bunch of FAQs and questions and answers filled out in there in a matter of days. Not weeks, not months, days. The pandemic hit and they had a new website up and running for all the people that were all of a sudden, out of a job, had questions, didn't know what to do. They were able to respond quickly and easily because we were able to get these platforms in place that allowed them to update content quickly and easily. And that's really what being infectious is about. It's how do I have platforms in place where I can update them quickly and easily with the content that I know that someone needs as fast as possible. So that's the crawling, walking. Now we're at the point where we probably earned the right to start running a little bit. Maybe a slow jog, pick up the pace and start running. And when I think about running when it comes to customer experiences, now we're starting to get to that tailored experience, that personalized and predictive experience. And when we think about that, at least I immediately think again of Amazon and their prolific recommendation engine. I'm sure all of us have bought products that we had no intention of buying because Amazon sent us an email saying, hey, I think you might like this, or we were in app and it was recommended to us or it showed up on the homepage. All of us have fallen for it, so it's no surprise when you hear stats like 35% of Amazon purchases are based on recommendation. It's a huge boon to their business. When you look at the other one that I think is pretty popular when you think about recommendations and personalization is Netflix. And with Netflix, 75% of their content consumed is because of the recommendation engine. And again, it might be that email you get, hey, we just added some videos or movies to our site that we think you might like, or you're on the app on a Friday night looking for something to watch, and those ones that show up on your home screen are being recommended to you. And their engine is so powerful that they actually attribute $1 billion a year in cost savings strictly based upon their AI, machine learning, and recommendation engine. And the reason for that is if you think about Netflix's business model, it's all about monthly recurring revenue. They want all of us to keep paying that $8, $10, $14 a month to keep consuming their products. Because if we stop paying that $10 a month, now they have to go find someone to fill that gap, or else it's going to have a drop in revenue. And finding new subscribers is obviously expensive. So the way to avoid that is obviously to keep their existing subscribers happy with the service. And the way you're going to stay happy with Netflix and not think about canceling it is if you're always watching it. And the reason, the way to get you to always watch it is to keep pushing you content that they know you're going to like. And they're obviously hugely successful with it, to the tune of $1 billion a year. The other thing they do that's interesting is they don't just look at their machine learning and their recommendation models and say, okay, for you, the next best series based upon what you've watched, what other people watched, is Riverdale. They do that, but they then take it a step further and say, okay, our classification algorithms are putting you into a genre preference of thriller versus romance. So we're not going to only recommend Riverdale to you. We're going to recommend Riverdale with imagery that implies thriller over romance, because we know that the click-through rate simply based on imagery is 20% higher if it's an image that you relate to. And that's super important for their recommendation engine as well. So the same applies for all of us. If you look at statistics from HubSpot, they back up that personalized CTA recommendation. They say through their own researches that personalized calls to action have a 42% higher view conversion rate than non-personalized ones. If you look at something as simple as what Forbes is saying, 70% of millennials are frustrated with brands who send irrelevant emails. And you might say, big deal, but we all get it. We can't stand it when we get emails from a company we do business with that is either an email for a product we probably already just bought from them, or is completely irrelevant to us. It really actually turns us off, and a lot of times you unsubscribe. So now this company, because they weren't sending personalized targeted emails to you, now loses all ability to market to you and sell to you because you've blocked them or unsubscribed or anything like that. So in that realm, personalization is super important. But a lot of times people don't know where to start. Personalization seems like it's such a big daunting task. How do I start? And it can be pretty simple. If you look at someone like this manufacturer of widgets and gadgets and sensors, if I'm coming to the website and they know I'm in the oil and gas industry based upon previous browsing behaviors or data that they're pulling on me from my IP address or something like that, they may as well show imagery about natural gas and oil and things like that, or products that would apply to me. On the flip side, if I'm in the the marine industry, show me, imagery based upon marine and products of the sort. Switching to kind of the banking side, if I'm going to my bank to log into online banking, don't show me a generic ad about checking if I've been on autotrader.com and I've been on car brands and I've been searching for auto loans and looking at your rates. That would imply that I'm obviously in the market for an auto loan. Show me an ad for an auto loan. Show me your rates. On the flip side, if I've been on Expedia searching for destination islands, or I've been looking at cruises, unlikely given the current times, but say I have been on my Southwest app looking at flights, I'm clearly thinking about going on vacation. Why don't you give me that ad for that credit card rewards you have right there? So it's really easy to figure out just simple ways you can personalize on your homepage, and then also apply these again to social ads, to Google ads, and things like that. A lot of times when we talk with customers, they don't really know where to start though. Okay, fine, I have personas, fine, I kind of know what I want to do, but how do I go about it? And this is where, for us, this content persona matrix comes in. Let's define our personas, our segments that we want to personalize to. Let's kind of define the areas we can personalize, whether it's, again, hero imagery, calls to action on our website, or ads on Facebook, Instagram, and other channels. And from there, kind of start to fill in the matrix. So for student at Sandra, on the homepage, let's push our student savings account versus, auto buying Anna, let's push her loan ads, within social channels. And we fill it out and really figure out, who we want to be targeting and where. Once we've done this, the next piece really is finding the data we have or need to have in order to slot people into those correct classifications or segments so that we can personalize them for them. And when we think about this, there's really, at the end of the day, 3 types of data you can use for driving personalization. The first one, unironically, is called first-party data. And first-party data is your data. It's the data that you already own on either your customers or leads or prospects. And it could be something as simple as, what's their browsing history on the website. If they're already a customer, what is their product history? What things have they bought? What things have they looked at? All that data that you have on someone because you know who they are. You might have their address, their age, do they have children? A whole wealth of data you can use to start personalizing. Second type of data, again, ironically enough, second-party data. Second-party data is quite simply someone else's first-party data. So going back to that loan example, if I can go to AutoTrader and buy their data, I would know, okay, Derek was on this site looking at Jeeps. John Smith was on the site looking at Corvettes. And then when they come to my site, I can personalize based on that data, or I can, again, target them on social media, Google AdWords, and things like that. The third type of data, third-party data, is probably the most easy to come by besides your own data, obviously. But it's also kind of complicated to think about. Third-party data is a collection of data from a bunch of different sources. So I like to think about it as my digital footprint. So my name is Derek Barka. I'm 42 years old. I'm the CTO of Silvertech. And if you look at the things I do digitally, I go to YouTube and I watch soccer videos because I coach my kids' soccer teams. I go to read articles about data and artificial intelligence, machine learning, and Azure and cloud and stuff like that. I'm a fitness enthusiast, so I might watch videos on fitness and CrossFit and hiking and biking and stuff like that. I have 2 kids. On my phone, I'm in I used to be anyways, I'm in my Marriott app a lot, my Southwest app because I travel a lot for work. So when I'm buying third-party data, I'm not buying those specific details about Derek, but I'm buying, again, the classifications that he falls into. So I would get, okay, this is a male between 40 and 50. He's an IT executive. He makes between X and Y. He's a father. He's a soccer dad. He's a fitness enthusiast. And he's an IT professional, if I didn't already say that. But that's plenty of data to use for personalization. I don't need to know a specific name or where he lives. I can use this kind of generic data about him to drive personalization very easily and efficiently, again, across all channels. So kind of putting all of this together. For external third-party data, we have something called a data management platform. That's where you buy your third-party data from. We can feed that into the CMS. and drive personalization off of that. For our first party data, we probably have a data warehouse that we have all this data in that we're, again, scrubbing, running models against it, classifying it, pushing that into the content management systems, personalization engine, and then from there, driving personalization out. We can also leverage this data and push to things like CRM and marketing automation to, again, personalize and provide consistent messaging and experiences across all those different digital touch points that we care about. The other thing we can do pretty easily is, again, look at behaviors on the site using something like, Progress Site Affinity Insights. It's very, very easy to create personas there based upon simple rules on the site. If they visit this page or these types of page, you'll give them certain scores towards that persona. If they're filling out forms and telling you more information about themselves, give them points towards this persona. And then it's super easy for a marketer to go into the Site Affinity CMS UI, say, I want to personalize my hero home banner for this persona, and switch out the image, switch out the content, switch out the links, and then go to the next persona. Again, switch out their content, switch to the imagery to make it more relevant to that person, and then move on from there. And that's really what running means from a customer experience standpoint. The next piece of this is machine learning and data-driven conversations. And this is really, if we're going with a crawl, walk, run metaphor, this is really, we're running fast at this point. There's not many people doing this yet, but certainly when we talk about the Amazons of the world, the Netflix of the world, this is where they're making their money. This is where their proprietary information is. And it's hard to do. This is really where you have to rely on your partnerships and platforms to get there. The average marketer has 15 to 20 sources of information on any given person. It might be their analytics, it might be in their content management system, it might be in their marketing automation system, it could be in their CRM, it could be social media. There's tons of information you have on your customers and prospects, and it's really hard to make any sense of it, really. And that's where machine learning and artificial intelligence comes in. They can look at this data, they can automatically structure it into stuff that makes sense, they can run classification algorithms across all of it to start to slot people into things like segments and stuff like that. They can predict next best products. And then as a marketer or technologist, I can now take that data, those insights gleaned from those models, and from there push promotions and personalizations and things like that. And again, the strategy behind it doesn't change much, it just gets more specific. So instead of targeting a persona, now I'm targeting a very specific classification of individuals with a next best product, with a certain promotion and things like that. From there, following that same banking example, we can also get into conversational pieces. So we have tons of data on people, we have tons of content within our content repository. How do we kind of combine all that into a conversational situation? Again, especially when it comes to millennials and stuff like that, they don't necessarily want to be on a website. They want to be talking to their phone or chatbot or something like that instead of a person specifically. So if I can go onto my phone and say, hey Siri, how much money's in my bank account? This happens to me all the time. Every time I go grocery shopping, I forget to check the balance of my debit card. I get up there, my phone's not working, and I don't have any money there, and I have to transfer quickly, and it's embarrassing. It would be great if I could just walk into my grocery store and say, hey Siri, make sure there's $300 in my debit account, and it takes care of the rest. And that's really what conversational AI and stuff is about, and that's the future. But in order to get there, we have to really get these other systems and processes and steps in place to kind of create that platform so that we can build upon it when we are ready for that next step. So in summary, crawling is really about those modern and relevant experiences. Walking, getting our groove on, is really about those engaging and frictionless experiences. And then when we've done that, we've kind of earned the right to run. Now we can start to talk about being personalized, being predictive, getting into that conversational piece of that customer experience. With that, I'd like to thank you for coming to this session. Again, if you had any questions, please feel free to throw them into the question pane, and I'd be happy to answer them. Thanks.